Good morning, Senator Joseph Griffo.
Good morning. How's everyone doing?
You're drinking coffee.
I'm drinking coffee, and I drink it occasionally, but you can tell it's been a rough
You had a rough
few
weekend.
weeks.
Yeah.
They were at a Red Bull
weekend.
at the gas station,
Yeah,
so he had
Red
to
Bull
go with
would
the
be
coffee.
good, especially with a little something in it, right?
Tell me, there's a few things to get into.
Yeah, a lot of things to get into. Like,
Yeah.
first, the budget process, though. I think that's a good segue
Yeah,
and what you talked about here, because it's a ridiculous process. And it's tough enough that we were up against the religious observances, trying to meet and fulfill a responsibility that I think is important, the budget deadline of April 1st. And we have successfully done that over the last 8 years for the most part.
Yeah,
We've gotten
yeah.
a couple timely budgets, like a week late or a couple days late. But overall, that's our responsibility. We need to do that. And you hear a lot of people say, better a good budget than a late budget or an on-time budget. Well, you should be able to do both. You should be able to do the best budget you can and on time. But the process is just ridiculous. I mean, they wear you down. You know what I really feel sorry for is the staff, even more than the members, because the staff are working almost nonstop for the last 3 weeks. I kid when I come here talking about March Madness and we got the national championship game tonight, but it's just as crazy in the corridors of the Capitol as it is on the basketball courts, and it's unacceptable. It truly is.
Yeah,
you can't function. Think about being sleep deprived. I think of interrogation, how they use interrogation techniques.
They wear you
and
down.
Tactics. They wear you down,
Yeah.
and even the members. We slept about 3 hours a night over the last week, and then you're going at 2 in the morning. And I preside over the Senate a lot. And I did over the budget process too. So you can see what it does to not only the staff but even the other members. And I think it's wrong. There should be a way to change that. And even though I continue to advocate that, we've put in legislation to change it, but the process and just the structure has not allowed it. But I think that's intentional.
And also, too, I think you had mentioned, I spoke with you yesterday or last week. We were discussing something else about getting you on. You said, I don't know when I could come on because I don't know when they're going to call me in for something.
That's exactly. I mean, at least when you're a physician and you're on call, you're going to do something really good for someone, right? You need to be there to help someone. In this case, you don't even know what your schedule is going to be.
Right.
It could be like, well, you're out now, but we may need you in the next 20 minutes. In fact, last year, we were sent back home, part of the negotiations, and some of the members, one of the guys lives in Buffalo, he was actually in Rochester when they called him back again. That's unacceptable. It's ridiculous.
When you say they wear you out, the governor?
The governor and even through conversations with the leadership, because they make progress, and then you bring the way it works. And we've talked about the process. You know, the governor proposes, then the legislature examines. We have public hearings. Then both houses put together a plan that they give their idea of how they think it should be spent. And then ultimately you begin those conference committees and the negotiations. They talk about 3 men in a room or 4 men in a room. That is the way it works because the leaders are there to represent their conferences. But if they're doing their job, like our leader, he'll come back and say, here's what we're discussing. Now give me your input. And we've had a lot of division even in our conference and divisiveness between the houses and the parties and even sometimes geography. It becomes geopolitics more than party politics.
Right.
Look, I'm going to fight for upstate New York. I'm going to fight for central New York and the North Country. I'm not going to apologize for that. Like, for instance, people talk about a pot that may be there for discretionary money. I think in some instances that works, and we'll talk about some of the education money and where you need to go fix major problems if they're not being fixed through a formula that I think needs to be improved and changed. But until such time, I'm going to go in there and fight for my community.
Let's talk about Anthony Brindisi.
Look at that, just on cue. The
Assemblyman
walks in.
Here
We're
he
talking
comes.
about fighting for our community.
Assemblyman Brian Miller. Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, in an intention to compliment you, kind of let the cat out of the bag. New Hartford with a $500,000 started out as a $900,000 deficit in their budget.
What's happening behind me?
The stuff's falling off the walls. I think they got it down to like 500,000. But they're in big trouble. Yeah. You've been able to, with the help of Brian Miller, you guys have been able to solve a problem for New Hartford.
Yes. Look, we're going to announce more in the near future, but New Hartford had a significant problem, and a lot of it not because of their own fault, but because of tax certiorari cases. We see the economy struggling. Hopefully that will improve now. They had these cases where assessments were reduced, and they lost significant money, along with other challenges that the district is facing. So we have a great team here. We've all worked well together, and this is where I've put my seniority to use. And again, that's another part of the process. If you're a senior member, you're able to drive more attention and hopefully deliver more resources. But you need a team to help support you in doing that. So in this particular instance, I had Bob Knoll came several times to Albany. We had him on merit explain and detail the problem that the district is facing so that people didn't understand. We just, got our hand out for money.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we were successful in driving additional money through the regular formula, and then we have another one-time approach to have them deal with the money to deal with this.
They got hit on assessments on businesses, properties, including Sangertown Square.
Correct.
Over $1 million on Sangertown, right?
So I appreciate the help and the support from Assemblyman Miller.
How much do they? Can you say?
Yeah, it's gonna be in the neighborhood of about $400,000 for a one-time. Plus, they got an additional $300,000 through the regular funding that we have. So they're close to, as you said, they had about
almost
$500,000.
So they're almost to that $900 million where they were. So
900,000
or 900,000. Did I say 900 million?
Yes.
I was thinking of my wife's teacher's
See,
salary.
Now, that's how you would be.
That's what they think she makes.
That's how you would be if you were in Albany late at night.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Deliberating and debating on the budget.
It's been a long Easter weekend. Oh my God, it's Monday.
Passover too.
So Assemblyman Brian Miller, this is what this money is supposed to be for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, where you're able to help out when there's a mistake or there's an oversight or just something that happened in the case here, where this stuff goes back and forth. You never know when this is going to happen with assessments.
There's a special pot that's put together, and it does go to the discretion of senior members and majority, and it should be dealt in a little more meritorious manner.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it exists, and I do believe there needs to be some flexibility in order to help deal with cases like this. And when you present an argument on merit, as we have done, then we have to go and put some muscle into it, and we were successful because there are a number of districts that were experiencing problems and looking for similar type of assistance, but we were able to prevail, and that money is coming to New Hartford.
Where do you guys both stand on the bill that was passed into law? It's apparently brought out of the budget process. It was on domestic violence. So now with a misdemeanor conviction, a person would not be allowed to purchase or to possess guns. Where do you guys both stand? I'll start with Brian Miller.
Well, I voted down on that. One of the reasons was, here we are again voting on a very important legislation in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a lot of things to this bill. A lot of components on adding misdemeanors as trespassing and this and that. I really wanted the opportunity to talk to the DA and talk to the sheriffs and not have to make a hastily decision. What
does the sheriff say? What does the DA say? How are you on that one, Joe?
Well, I mean, Brian brings up a great point. First of all, there shouldn't be this policy and stuff in the budget. And we were successful in the Senate leading the charge to take policy out of the budget.
Yeah.
And also pushing back on all the tax hikes the governor had proposed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a major victory for the people of the state. They're not going to be subjected to these nickel-dime taxes and fees that he wanted to do over $1 billion worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then secondly, most of the policy fell out of the budget. We still have 3 months to go back and to debate and to focus on policy issues that are important. Now, we're going to still have differences. In this particular one, it was generally discussed, but all of a sudden put on everybody's desk so he took it out of the budget to appease people, but then he still says, I want to get this done.
Right.
And it's at 11 o'clock midnight when you're looking at this document and you're trying to absorb it. You don't have time to talk to the district attorneys and the Sheriff's Association. Initially, many of them had some consternation over what was going to be done from a penal code perspective. So I like Brian. I just said, look, we don't have enough information here.
Yeah.
I have a strong record of protecting victims of domestic
violence. It puts you in a tough position because here they're going to be opponents of yours who come out and say, well, you're voting against protecting women, and you're really not.
People are going to say that on everything,
yeah.
But in this case, as I indicated, we have a strong record and history of protecting and advocating for victims of domestic violence and supporting legislation to protect women. And first of all, federal law this basically codifies a lot of what federal law already does. So I feel comfortable that the federal law that exists will protect people.
Yeah.
Now, we can always look at what else should and can be done, but you need to do that in a conversation with individuals. And we always talked about this, including the people that are involved in the process, whether they're advocates or whether they're law enforcement, and that wasn't done.
That's the way it was. It was saw it first. We saw it at the probably 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And there was many questions. I know our conference, we talked about it at length to move things on, and it shouldn't have been voted on at that hour of the night.
And I'll give you another perfect illustration.
The problem is we're talking about a misdemeanor here. It's already the case if it's a felony, but this is a misdemeanor.
Well, it's various categories, so that's the problem. Like one of them talks about annoyance. What does annoyance mean? And that's the question. Like I said,
I am annoying, period. So I'd be
Ellie has said that many times,
Then there was one part of it that was talking about intent. No.
What was somebody's intent? Yeah,
What's
this
intent?
is
See, the problem,
muddy.
To make that type of a decision with only an hour or two is outrageous and indicated. Maybe if we had a chance to look at this and debate it and talk about it and really discuss it with people that are involved in the process, we would have looked at it differently.
But it's passed, so what is it going to mean?
Well, right,
what will it mean?
It is passed. So
that's the big question.
And
it was actually sponsored by a Republican in Long Island.
From Long Island,
Yeah.
exactly. Senator Phillips, who believes strongly in it. So, I mean, as I indicated, sometimes you have differences even within your conference. The other thing, sexual harassment was put in there.
I want you to wait on that one. I want to talk about that because there's a lot of the stuff that's very ambiguous. We'll talk about it. A quick break. We're with Brian Miller, Assemblyman, in the weirdest-looking district in all of New York State. It's cost him how many pairs of shoes?
We're probably at 4 now and
Not good,
$35,000 on the
I'm wondering
on the
why he
car
looks
and a new hip.
I'm wondering why he looks a lot fresher than I do, though. Maybe it's a new hip.
New hip,
Could
new
be,
shoes.
but,
Joe, I'm going to tell you, a lot of exercise. I'm just saying. And, of course, Senator Joe Griffo.